Philip Russell just gave this to me. It's the Dallas Morning News that says, record numbers hopping on Dallas area rapid transit. And a little sub-headline here says, weekday riders hit all-time high as officials plan more development. Green with envy. But we have a gentleman here tonight who is a longtime advocate of passenger rail, whose vision is to give that same sort of thing to the city of Austin. He's an architect and an urban planner. His name is Andrew Clemens. In the few years he's been in the city of Austin, he's, besides a professional architect and urban planner, he has been president of the Downtown Austin Neighborhood Association, chair of the Urban Transportation Commission, a member of the Downtown Commission, and he currently serves on the board of the Alliance for Public Transportation. And he's got a big vision for passenger rail here in Central Texas. Andrew Clemens.
Wow, what a tough act to follow. There's no way I'm going to give you that much information. And my slides won't have all this effects. It's going to be pretty straight ahead, boring PowerPoint. Anyway, I have been active in advocating for rail for a while. I wish I could come before you tonight and tell you how you could go out and get active in writing rail tomorrow. But unfortunately, we don't have a lot of options in Central Texas right now. We have Amtrak, although I wonder if the price of gas is making people use Amtrak for shorter hops than it's traditionally been used for in Texas. I know I rode it all the way to Chicago a few years ago. And then we have the rather touristy steam train. But there is a lot of, the next slide, there is a lot of talk going on right now, as I'm sure you know, about planning for more rail and passenger rail, especially in Central Texas. And that's in addition to the Capital Metro Rail Red Line that will begin having service at the end of this year or early next year. But just in 2008, as of this month, we've seen the Downtown Austin Plan consultants state the lack of a comprehensive transportation system is the region's most significant sustainability issue. We've seen Campo form the Transit Working Group, whose charge is to analyze and evaluate the potential for rail in Texas and the optimal role for rail as part of a comprehensive regional transportation system. But in the 2 to 3 months since they formulated the decision tree process, there have been no proposals presented to them. And it's pretty widely referenced by some of the area leaders that there's probably not going to be a proposal presented to them in time for a November rail referendum. I don't think that's necessarily a dead issue if there's enough public outcry over getting something on the ballot in November. It's going to be, I think, Matt Curtis would say November is going to be an optimal time to have a rail referendum because of the ballot turnout, and traditionally a national election is going to bring out a lot of the liberal voters. We've also seen Envision Central Texas just recently, in the last month or so, release a vision progress assessment to determine how well the region is meeting the demands of its continued growth. And key findings in that include much more remains to be done to improve the region's transportation system. And also from the interviews they did for citizens and planning officials, increasing options for alternative transportation, including bicycle infrastructure and rail, were priorities. Now, I'm bold enough to be a part of a group that's tried to come up with a very big picture idea of what a regional rail system could be. The next slide, Terry. And I want to pose 2 theoretical questions. You might recognize the Envision Central Texas Preferred Growth scenario, which I think is sort of our marching orders for the next few decades on how we should grow. But in thinking about planning for the best passenger rail system we could someday have in Central Texas, I'd like to ask first, what if we could have a commuter rail system that connected existing and growing regional town centers such as Georgetown, Taylor, Elgin, Bastrop, Lockhart, San Marcos, Dripping Springs, Liberty Hill to the northwest, connect them both to each other and to Austin proper, and enable the Envision Central Texas Preferred Growth scenario to be realized. The next slide, Terry. And the second question you might recognize, and I think one of the things to be excited about recently, is that Campo, who actually probably could accomplish some sort of regional planning in Central Texas, even though the state law tries to make regional planning illegal. They actually have, through their enabling statute, the power to probably do some regional planning. And I think it's exciting that Campo's, at least their draft 2035 growth concept, is really starting to take some of Envision Central Texas vision to heart. And they're starting to recognize the importance of land use in addition to the transportation planning they've done for years. But the second question is, what if regional commuter rail lines could be combined with light rail lines serving the more urbanized Austin and Pflugerville Round Rock areas into a system that could be the transportation backbone connecting the activity centers, which are really the basis of the, at least the land use portion of the Campo regional growth concept. What if we could have a system that accomplished both that and the Envision Central Texas vision? Next slide. I'm part of a group of architects and urban planners and concerned citizens that actually have come up with a concept that really tries to incorporate everything that Capital Metro has planned to date in their Metro Rail, but really goes much further to propose serving the entire 5-county region. And eventually, when you get your handout, you'll have some of these maps within it. But the system really serving the 5-county area, and it might be hard to see, really tries to, the red lines on this map really illustrate utilization of existing railroad right-of-ways.